Hello and welcome to Super OK, where we try to do a decent enough job to entertain people with our opinions on video games. As always, my name is Dale, and I am joined here by someone who loves artichokes, and that's Mel. Mel, how are you?
That is true. I love artichokes. Actually, my favorite way of eating artichokes is like steamed, and then you dip the little ends in butter, and then you just use the artichoke leaf as a like vessel just to eat butter.
Yeah, I mean, anything is better with butter, right?
Totally. It's so good for you.
That should 100% be their slogan. It's like, anything's better than butter, or with butter, you know?
Butter, yeah.
Yeah. Top secret confession time, I'll go first. The first like 2 or 3 times I had artichokes, I really, really didn't like them. And it's because I did not realize that you are not supposed to just eat the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, how do people enjoy this? And then I saw someone like scraping artichoke meat or whatever off. And I was like, oh, I'm an idiot.
And then ever since then, you like artichokes?
Yeah, I like artichokes now.
Nice.
It does make me wonder how people discovered that like this part of the artichoke is delicious and this part of the artichoke is a pulpy mess.
Yeah.
You know, I often wonder about like, who's the first guy who figured out that eggs were food? And then that translates into all other foods. Like, who figured out this thing wasn't going to kill you, you know?
Yeah. Like who decided like they were going to be like, yeah, I'm going to put this inside my mouth?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And it's like, there are some mushrooms that kill you. And we know all of those now. And it's like, somebody died to know, like, somewhat, like, hundreds of people have probably had to die to let me know that a portobello mushroom is safe.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a video game podcast. But we never start by talking about video games, as evidenced by that conversation. Yep. Instead, we talk about our highlight of the week. And this is a little thing that made our week a little bit better, a little bit brighter, a little bit nicer to live in. Mel, do you mind going first? I would love to go first.
So it has been relatively warm here in Michigan the past couple of days, today especially. And I was able to take my dogs out for a swim. And it was really cute. I got to put on their little like life jackets and everything. And as soon as they know like the life jacket's on them, they're like, it is go time. We are going swimming. So they were super, super excited to go swimming in a pool. And this was the first time that my dog Zelda, she loves swimming. She was really frightful of swimming previously, like when she was a lot younger. And she always hated jumping into the pool. Like she loves splashing in the pool and she loves like, you know, putting her paws out so she can make like the big splashes. And she enjoys when people kind of like toss her in the pool, only when she wants to be tossed into the pool. And today, the first time that she jumped into the pool by herself with nobody telling her to do it, she just jumped right in. And I was like, oh, you're such a big dog now. I can't believe you just like jumped into the water. Because typically she always needs to have somebody there with her to do it. But she just plunged right into the water. And it was so cute.
Adorable. So cute. Absolutely adorable.
Yeah. I was a very proud dog mama.
What the thing about dogs is naturally they're pretty excited. And so when they get like more excited about a thing, like it's one of the most adorable things. And so I can just imagine like the little tippy taps and the like turning in circles and excitedly looking around as you're putting on the life vest. It's like, oh yeah. Oh man. Sounds very cute.
And like my like Zelda, for instance, when she's swimming, you can tell that she's smiling while she's swimming because she just has like that look in her eyes and like her mouth is open and she's just having such a great time. Such a great time.
This is an audio media, but I guarantee you I was making the face that Zelda was making. Like looking around, like mouth slightly open, tongue out just a little bit,
Yep.
like,
Yep.
yeah.
This is my greatest day ever.
Yes, exactly. Man, I love dogs. Dogs are so good. That's awesome. When I was this, you said it was a pool.
Yep.
Nice. That's
It was a pool.
there's something about pool swimming on a hot day that is just like
Indeed.
so good, so refreshing. Love it. Love it.
Same. What about you?
Um, yeah, mine is actually kind of a big one for me. So Michigan Central Station was a train station that was abandoned in the 80s in Detroit.
Hmm?
And in my more reckless youth days, I spent a good chunk of time in there, right? Just like
Yep.
exploring, seeing what was going on, that sort of thing. And like a lot of time, right?
Hmm.
Like we just go in there all the time. And then, they like closed it up and tightened up security and all of that. And so we thought like, well, we'll never go in that building again, and that sucks.
Right.
And then Ford bought it, and Ford was like, you know what, we're going to do an insane thing. We're going to spend an exorbitant amount of money to historically restore this building back to what it would have looked like in the like 1920s. Like it opened in 1913, I think. So like actually the 1910s. And we're going to use as much original stuff as we possibly can. We're going to
Right.
save anything that can be saved. We're going to make this thing look gorgeous. Um, and then they were like, cool. Now we're going to open it to the public. We're going to have a concert. Uh, and all of the tickets for all of that stuff were gone in like hours, right? Hours after
Hmm.
they announced it. And I didn't find out about it until after my workday, and I looked and it was like, oh man, there's no tickets available.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then a couple days ago, I was just like trolling the Detroit subreddit, and someone was like, hey, they opened up new tickets for the train station. And I went and was able to get tickets to go. And
Shut your face. Really?
yes. And not only was I able to get tickets to go, but also Tubbs and my friend Jenna and her family, we were all able to get tickets. And we all like used to spend a bunch of time just like hanging out down there.
Yeah.
Um, kind of. Tubbs would go with us, but not go in. He like sat out on the bench and like would read and shit. So this was his first time being in the building,
That's amazing.
but it was such an incredible experience to be in this building that I thought I was never going to be in again, and see
Yeah.
it functional and like usable, which I definitely never thought that was going to happen again. And the
Right.
attention to detail that they put in, and like the artifacts that they have preserved. They have like a whole big guided tour with like things on display that they found, and like little stories about like things that the workers discovered while they were working. And it was just such an incredible experience. Like you go into this tour and they put you in like a small room with like a huge cube screen, like an
Mm.
LED screen. And there's like a little 3 minute, like, go train station, go Detroit, like rah rah video. And it's like,
Right.
that's pretty good. And then they open the doors into the main lobby, and everything is timed. Like there's a huge swell of this like epic music that happens as you're coming through the doors,
Fun.
and it just like it hit hard. Like both Ange and Jenna were like crying
I
because of
bet.
how gorgeous it was. It was like I teared up a little bit. I ain't afraid to say. Um, it was just it was absolutely beautiful.
Wow.
And it's one of those things that like I am a cynic. Obviously, this is like a commercial for Ford or whatever. Like they put a bunch of money into this. They want the public to like, they want the goodwill associated with putting a bunch of money into this building.
Sure.
But on the other hand, it's like Ford could have done a million other things with this money other than bring it back into the city and revitalize a
Yeah.
long lost landmark. They could have, it probably would have been cheaper for them to completely knock the building down and rebuild it. but they didn't. They did it the right way, and I think that they deserve some credit for that. That's awesome. There
Uh,
were like all of these cool historical Detroit posters and like stories about like what it used to be and what they're going to do with it now. And the craziest part of all of it though is they had merch for sale. So I bought like a train station t-shirt.
oh,
And if you would have told me 20 years ago that I would be buying merch for the train station in the train station, I would have thought you were on acid.
oh,
So
totally.
it was just such an incredible experience. I highly recommend if you live in the Detroit area. There are they've opened up a ton of tickets. So I highly recommend going sometime this summer. Apparently, this exhibit is going to be open all summer, and
Nice.
then in the fall, depending on what the demand looks like, they might keep it open or not. They might change it. There's a
Mhm.
bunch of other stuff. But it was also cool because there were like food trucks and stuff outside, so you can make a day of it if you want to. If you don't live in the area, like you can go to the train station tour and then walk over to Slows or Mercury Burger Bar or any of the other restaurants that are over there. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and those
it
restaurants
was
are great.
yes, but it was an absolutely life changing experience. Like it was so very cool.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I remember like going to the train station for like band photo shoots, right? Like because it was just like a abandoned, like a beautiful abandoned building. So people would
Yes.
just like sneak in there and just like hang out. Tons of like very interesting graffiti if you were to go during a certain time. Yeah, I used to kind of like hang out there just because it was just a very kind of interesting place to be.
Hmm.
And it's just something that like kids did, right? It was either that or like the Packer building.
Yeah.
um so it's just really like I still can't imagine what it looks like completely redone. Like I've seen photos of it and it looks extremely beautiful and just well finished, and it's just awe-inspiring that something that looks like that shouldn't have been there like
Yeah.
is now something incredible.
Yes. If you have been in the building, it's going to blow your mind seeing it. It's going to
Oh,
absolutely blow your mind.
yeah.
So,
That's
yeah,
amazing. I'm glad that you got to go.
me too, man. I was excited. I was really worried that we weren't going to be able to go. I was really worried we were going to miss it, and
Yeah.
it was just very, very fortunate for us. So,
Mm.
pretty exciting. Um, So, speaking of very, very fortunate, Xbox was recently very fortunate to put out what a lot of people consider to be a pretty solid showcase of upcoming games. And that's important because Xbox recently has suffered a lot of L's, some self imposed, some not. They publicly admitted to coming in a distant third in the most recent generation of gaming consoles. They have been lambasted repeatedly and deservedly for closing down a bunch of really solid game studios. And they have largely lost the public when it comes to first party games because they haven't really put out anything that has been ultra compelling.
Mhm.
There hasn't been a good reason to buy an Xbox for a while, is the way that I'll put that. Because realistically, all of the best Xbox games have also been PC games. And so it's like, well, I could buy an Xbox or I could buy a thing that does everything that the Xbox currently does and also is a computer. And so it makes it really tough to like want to buy into the Xbox ecosystem. But it's entirely possible that this showcase is going to change that because in addition to most of these games looking pretty cool and being well received, also a vast majority of them said that they were going to be day one on Game Pass. And I doubt that Xbox cares if you buy an Xbox if they can get you into a subscription service for Game Pass. And a lot of these games are very good reasons for you to want to do that.
Totally.
So, with that in mind, we're going to basically do what we did for the Summer Game Fest last week. We're just going to go through these games and talk about the things that we find interesting about them, share our thoughts, share any ones that we're hyped about, things that we're worried about. We're not going to cover every little bit that's in here. Specifically, we are not covering any of the DLC stuff that's in here, where it was just like DLC for an existing game. But without further ado, let's hop into it. The first game we're going to talk about here does not need an introduction. It's Call of Duty Black Ops 6. What do you think about it?
So watching the trailer, it looked really pretty. I think it looked very polished in like the cinematic that they had, shown off. But like because it's a Call of Duty game, I'm expecting that the campaign is going to be super short, not super like really in depth, doesn't give you any type of emotional pull. And I also expect like an insanely large download for this game. So that way you can play like Warzone and zombies or whatever. And I think when I was like looking at it online, it was like over 300 gig download. And I'm like, that's a boatload of space for this game. It's just kind of wild to me, but at least they're trying to release the game on all platforms at the same time so everybody can enjoy the Call of Duty experience. But like, I'm just ready for Call of Duty Black Ops to die. Like, we're already on 6. When
Yeah.
when are we going to get a new Call of Duty sub brand?
I mean, realistically, like, yes, you're not wrong. They could try and innovate a little bit more, but also like, if it ain't broke and is consistently selling millions upon millions of copies, like, why fix it?
It's true. It is true.
Yeah.
But I'm ready for something different. I'm ready for it to be like Black Ops, I don't know, Mountain Rangers, Space Force.
Call of Duty Space Force would be amazing. Especially if they partner with that Netflix show, so it's like Steve Carell telling you.
Oh my god! Imagine.
Oh man,
I'd play that game.
One of the maps is just like a very small moon where it's like 5v5, no cover.
It's just all open.
Yeah, no cover, and it's like kill the Russians.
Oh my god.
Oh man, amazing. I think that it is cool that they are putting this on Game Pass day one. A lot of people did not think that was going to happen, and I think it's cool that they are. I think, however, that it is absolutely wild that they are breaking up access to what parts of the game you have based on which Game Pass tier you have.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, like if you have Game Pass Ultimate, you get all of it. If you have Game Pass PC, you get all of it. But if you have like just the Game Pass Xbox tier, you only get access to the campaign. You have to buy the full game to have access to like multiplayer and zombies and like all of that stuff, which is pretty ridiculous. What is more ridiculous, and you touched on this a little bit, the game is 300 gigs.
Right? It's just so large.
That is a comedically large size. It is ridiculous.
Does it need to be that big?
I mean, no, it does not. I promise you it does not. I was playing some Next Best Game demos this week that were like 35 megabytes. There is no reason for this game to be 300 gigabytes in storage size. It screams bloat. It screams horrible optimization. The part of the reason for me that it is so funny is because this game is coming out on the Xbox Series S, and that console has 364 usable gigs of memory on it.
What?
Yeah, it starts at 500 gigs, and this takes up almost all of them.
Jeez.
And that is just so very funny to me.
So it's just at that point you just have a Call of Duty machine, because that's all you could pretty much play is Call of Duty.
Yes, exactly. It's like Call of Duty and Castle Crashers, and boom, you're full, right? It's like, it's ridiculous. So, yeah, I think that this is insane. I do think that this might push people to get some of the higher tiers of Game Pass, though, because realistically, if you think about like Call of Duty plus like the season pass or whatever that gives you like all the maps and all that, it's usually like somewhere in the $100 range, right? And you can get, I think it's what, $15 a month for Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah.
So you can get like almost a year of Game Pass Ultimate for the same price, and then you have access to Call of Duty and every other game that's on Game Pass Ultimate. So it continues to be an incredible value.
Yeah.
So,
That, and they also have, and maybe this is what they're also pushing for, like cloud gaming. So really you don't need to have storage at that point. You're just playing off of their servers.
yeah, I guess so. But man, think of how big their servers
It's
are.
all bloat.
It's ridiculous.
Should throw money at it, right?
Yes, it is absolutely ridiculous. Speaking of absolutely ridiculous, the next game, in my opinion, came out of nowhere and is absolutely ridiculous. There's no other way to describe it. It's Doom: The Dark Ages.
Oh my God, right? Like, such a weird. Like, I think people were expecting a new Doom, right? But I don't think that they expected them to go medieval, like fantasy. Like, when I first looked at it, I was like, is this Viking Doom? Because of like the fur that's like on God, Doom Guy's back. I was like, what the heck is this? But it was like kind of cool because I was like, okay, now that it's like medieval Doom, where's my chainsaw? And then they had like the chainsaw like in the shield, and like you were using the shield to like kill people. I was like,
Yes.
okay, that's actually kind of badass.
Yes, it is 100% badass. I'll be honest with you. I like Doom Eternal obviously came out 2020, I think. So it's been like 4 years. I was really worried that with all the like recent closures that id might be getting the axe, because they talked about Mighty Doom or whatever, their like mobile Doom game
Oh,
is shutting down. And so I was really worried that like id was just like
yeah.
on the way out. And no, not only are they not, but they're apparently letting them make whatever the hell they want, because this is such a crazy pitch. Like, yeah, man, it's medieval fantasy Doom. I love medieval fantasy. This looks to be just the right kind of dumb. Like you're throwing a chainsaw shield around, and it's like
Yep.
cutting through hordes of imps. It looks hilarious. It looks stupid. I am very excited for this to come out.
Yeah. I want to see what they're going to do with it further down the like further into this game, because like surface value, like it's an interesting concept, but is it going to be like Doom Eternal where there's going to be like a whole bunch more like hidden trophies? Like, I don't know. I feel like it just needs more than just it being a medieval fantasy Doom game for me to be like in it.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the things that they definitely could focus more on is the multiplayer. The multiplayer in Doom Eternal was a little weird for me.
Okay.
And so if they can get that right in this version, uh, I feel like that's going to add a ton of value to this game and draw a bunch more people into it.
Yeah.
You know? So
I never
uh,
actually played the multiplayer of Doom Eternal.
most people didn't because it was pretty bad. So yeah, I don't blame you. It was like one of those things where it's like you can be a Doom guy or you can be one of the monsters.
But you couldn't be Isabel? Like, what the heck?
No, you could. Sorry, there was no crossover into Animal Crossing. Um, man, I wish there was.
Same.
Yeah. So I don't know about you. I'm excited about Doom: The Dark Ages.
Same. I
Great.
just, yeah. Yep,
Great.
same. I just want to chainsaw a whole bunch of people.
Yes, that makes sense to me. A game I am not excited about: State of Decay 3.
Same.
I skipped State of Decay 2. State of Decay 1 was fine, but it wasn't amazing. This trailer was absolutely gorgeous. But I'm not going to lie. Unless they've changed the gameplay drastically, I'm probably skipping State of Decay 3.
I don't blame you. I played State of Decay 2 with some friends because they had like a 4-person like co-op mode, and I was like, cool. Like, I feel like this would be a great game to play with your friends because you do the crafting, you're like trying to make a bigger base or whatever. But like some of the stuff that you did in your friend's game doesn't carry over into your game. And I'm like, well, the progression's kind of weird and it kind of sucks because I've like found all these people, I've done all this stuff, and it just doesn't apply to me anymore. And I just gave up after that. So if they fix that in State of Decay 3 for a co-op game, because it does seem like it's going to be another type of co-op game, then I'd be like, yeah, like, all right, I'll give you a shot.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I just do not need another survival game where I have to build a base. I just don't need
Also fair. Yeah.
it. There are so many of those out there. I am burned out on them. I don't need it. But I'm glad that some people are excited for this. So cool. One of the things that I am very excited for actually is Dragon Age The Veil Guard, which both recently went through a rename. It used to be Dragon Age Dreadwolf, which I'm not sure which of those names is better. One of them is definitely a little less silly, so that's good, I guess. They did the thing in the trailer where they just took a regular popular song and slowed it way down, which is a little worrisome. The tone of the trailer was also a little out of whack, in my opinion.
I agree, though.
But I'm still excited about this. And I'll talk about why after I get your opinion. So, what are your thoughts there?
I mean, like, when I watched it, I was like, cool. Like, it seemed a little bit darker in terms of all the other Dragon Age because it really had like the necromancers and like the people that practice like more of the dark arts. And I was like really worried that there weren't going to be like any type of like more noble good characters in there. But they showed off one, then they showed off another, and then another. And I was like, how many characters are there? And like, how many people are you going to be able to like join within your team? Like, I'm a little bit worried about like whether or not this is going to be like a true like RPG, like the original like Dragon Age Origins, or is it going to be more of like the top down type of game where like, oh, here's a whole bunch of stuff that you got to go kill?
I can kind of answer that because I went and watched the like first 20 minutes video that they put out of the gameplay after this, because the trailer is like cool and it's like, oh, it's like we're getting the band together or whatever, and they show like, I don't know, like 13 characters or something, and then it's like, who's gonna lead them, and it's just a character in a hood, and obviously that's supposed to be you, right? But the tone was way off, and so I was like, I was worried. So I went and watched this 20-minute long trailer, and basically it feels like it's more of like a hack and slashy kind of game. My major concern about this was I actually, in that like 20-minute video, they didn't really interface with any of the RPG systems.
Right.
And that might mean that they just didn't want to show off any of the RPG systems. They wanted the combat to keep moving. They wanted people to get invested in the storyline, that sort of thing. It also might mean that those RPG systems either are bad or don't exist. And those two things are really worrisome.
Totally.
Right? So I don't hate the idea of like a hack and slash like action RPG. I think that's totally, a very viable way to put out a Dragon Age game. I'm really worried about how they are marketing this. I am really worried about what they have chosen to show us versus what they have chosen not to show us.
Yeah.
And so those things have me like, I'm like, ooh, is this going to be bad? Like BioWare has released some pretty rough products.
It's true.
Like, is this going to be another rough product? And I hope it's not. I hope it's really, really good. I want BioWare to be able to return to form. Obviously, a lot of the people who were original BioWare people have left, but that doesn't mean that like everyone's gone. I want them to be successful. I'm kind of worried about this one.
Yeah. I don't know. I just kind of feel like I kind of just want Origins again. Something like similar, like along the lines of Origins again. I don't think that the Dragon Age series has really like gone back to its roots like that, because I feel like they've gone a little bit more like arcade style than like a
Yeah.
true RPG.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like a little bit of a turnoff for me. And that's why, like, for me, like Dragon Age, like this is cool, but I don't know if I would play it.
Right. That's fair. That's definitely fair. I mean, I'm gonna give it a try. You know,
Yeah.
we'll see. I am hopeful.
Like,
I don't know that I'd say I'm optimistic, but I am hopeful. So
well, it will be on Game Pass.
yes, that is true. That is very true. So you could try it. It'll cost you nothing but your Game Pass subscription and your time. So
Mm.
that's good. Speaking of a true RPG experience, though, the next game that they showed off was something called Claire Obscure Expedition 33.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this one?
Uh, as soon as I saw it, I was like, man, this is kind of creepy and dark and weird. Like, I don't really understand like what's truly happening. They talk about like this paintress and that you're trying to like get rid of her so she doesn't cause any more death. But I really didn't understand like like why she was the big bad, right?
Yeah,
But I loved looking at the different environments that they had that your players are like walking through. A lot of the environments were just really pretty and like very interesting in concept. And then when they started showing off the actual gameplay, I was like, there's quick time events. Like there's people that you have to click A at a certain moment in time, and then you could see like little menu pop-ups. Like, I don't know if it's like a turn-based game or if it's like a turn-based, but there's timing involved is for you to make a decision, right? So I kind of had to look into it a little bit more. Like I was just like, man, like this trailer got me. It did its job. Now I'm gonna like look up this game.
yeah,
And yeah, it's turn-based. It has quick time events. It's turn-based. And I thought that was just such a really interesting concept. I was like, man, I don't know if there's any game that's similar to this that's out there right now. Um, and it's just such an interesting concept because like the purpose of this game is that like you are the big bad who's the paintress. When she does a painting, she paints out a number, and if there whatever number that she paints will pretty much just kill anybody who is of that age. So they're trying to prevent her from murdering a bunch of people. So it's you, like you play as like a team of four, and you go into this world trying to find her, and trying to go through the adventure of killing her. And I was like, that's a very interesting concept, and I might be in. I might be in.
yeah. I think I am definitely in on this. This looks really cool. First off, the trailer itself is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it takes place in France and it starts with like the Eiffel Tower like falling over, and then you're looking at this tower that the paintress lives in through a cracked Arc de Triomphe is like really really cool. It looks absolutely gorgeous. It's an Unreal 5 game, and they are taking full advantage of it. But yeah, that like turn-based combat with some of those rhythm mechanics that they have in like the Mario and Luigi RPGs and like that sort of thing, where it's like, oh, you press A here and you'll get a crit instead of a normal thing.
Right.
You know, you press this sequence of buttons and you'll be able to like escape from a grapple. I think that that's. I'm always a fan of that mechanic in a game because it takes a turn-based game from being something that's a little more passive into something that's a little more active. You have to pay attention if you want to like do well, if you want to be successful in it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm really excited about this. I hope that it's day one Game Pass. My gut feeling is that it's gonna be, but they did not specifically say that in the trailer.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I will say that it will be out on Steam, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah,
I might pick it up there instead of getting it for Xbox or getting a Xbox Game Pass subscription.
yeah, that's fair. I mean, I if you don't have a Game Pass subscription, I could see this being the sort of game where you're just like, yeah, I'm buying that one game.
Mm-hmm.
So makes a ton of sense. It also seems like it's going to have hundreds of hours of gameplay to it,
Yeah.
just based on what they're talking about. Like by hundreds of hours of gameplay, I mean like it's not going to be like your 12-hour God of War style game, but it's also not going to be like your bloated Assassin's Creed. I'm not trying to scare people off by saying hundreds of hours. You don't have to play it for hundreds of hours,
Right, right.
you know? So, very cool. Next up is a game called South of Midnight. Now, we saw a little bit about this a while back,
Yep.
but this is set in like a fantasy swamp, and it's got kind of like a Creole Cajun kind of
Hmm.
vibe to it. And I don't know, like this one was interesting to me. I like a huge talking catfish with a Cajun accent. I think that was awesome. Uh, However, I'm worried about this one because they showed a little bit of gameplay, and the little bit of gameplay that they showed was pretty close to a game called Forspoken, which kind of sucked. So I'm a little worried about this. I'm just a touch worried about like what this is going to play like, that sort of thing. But the tone of this looks great. The animation style looks great. The music in this trailer was very, very good. So I'm hoping that like Forspoken vibe that I was getting from the combat, uh, like maybe they do it well, maybe they do it right.
Right.
I'm cautiously optimistic on this one.
Yeah, I am kind of the same because I think that it's an interesting decision that they made a game based off of like the southern Creole roots of the US. And I was like interested to see how they were pulling it off, but it was just kind of cool that like in some of the trailers they show like the big crocodiles and stuff like that, and I was like, oh, that's like such an interesting take. And it's kind of interesting too because I was like, the animation feels like it's stop motion, like a claymation stop motion type of like art. And I was like, I wonder how well that's going to play out in a action packed game, right? Like I don't know, I feel like it's kind of jarring a little bit like when I was watching the gameplay. So I'm really curious to see if that's going to play well in like in the hands of a gamer. But I get you. Like I have the same feelings of it being like Forspoken. Um and I really, really hope it's not like that. I hope that people have learned from that game and
Yeah.
just like, yeah, we need to like not do this. And like Forspoken, like there are some like action mechanics that I thought were pretty okay. But the one thing about that game that really got me was like the dialogue that was happening between like the main character and whatever that thing was that was like talking to her constantly. I was just like, I can't
Yeah.
stand this banter. It's awful.
Yeah. Yeah. The characters, there was not a likable character in that game. And I already like the huge talking catfish. So South of Midnight, you got one up on them. So that's great. Um, Excellent, excellent. So next up was a trailer for World of Warcraft: the War Within. Man, that is difficult to say. World of Warcraft: the War Within. It's a new expansion that's coming out for WoW. I'll be honest, I am someone who never cared about WoW. This just did not hit for me. This is not the trailer that was like, hey, you've never played WoW. Maybe you should be playing WoW. I hope the people who should be excited for this are. I am not one of those people. I have very little to say about this. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I heard that within this new expansion, they're like kind of reworking some of the systems inside of WoW, and I feel like that's pretty exciting, but also kind of like irritating for players who've been playing WoW for a long period of time because like they have wanted these systems, and I don't know exactly what they are. I've just heard through streamers and people who have played WoW before say that like, oh yeah, like we wanted this for so long. Which is good. That's great for you guys. But I'm not a huge WoW player. But I will say that the cinematic slapped. I feel like anytime that Blizzard comes out with like their cinematic trailers, I'm just like, man, it's so pretty. Like it's so interesting to like watch this. I will never play your game, but like I dig this. This is fun to watch.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. We did not talk during the Summer Games Fest when they announced it about the Diablo 4 expansion.
Oh God.
They showed it again here,
Huh?
and it's not on our list, but that uh, cinematic was also absolutely like both gorgeous and also so graphic.
Right. Oh
So
God. Yeah. They're good at that. They're really
yeah,
good at that. Diablo has been like very, very dark
yeah,
recently.
yeah. This one was very, very, very dark. Do not, if you're gonna watch it, don't watch it at work. It'll look like you're watching a Hostel movie. So yeah. Next up here we've got Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. What are your thoughts here?
Oh my God, I'm so excited for this because it's a remake of 3. And I heard 3 is crazy. Like we have talked about all the crazy things that happen in Metal Gear Solid games. Um is 3 the one with the crazy long ladder thing that you walk down?
Maybe.
I can't
I
remember.
don't know.
But there's
I don't
always
really.
something crazy in a Metal Gear Solid game, and
Yeah.
I'm just really excited to see that like all kind of reworked and just playing it for the first time ever.
Yeah. This was the one where like you had to manage your camouflages to like try and blend in as well as possible. And you had to like find your food while you were out there and like you were like killing and eating snakes and shit.
But
Yeah, it's a truly wild game. Um honestly, like looking at this, it's bizarre to me that Kojima is not involved at all in this remake. But it is obviously a Kojima game.
Mm,
Um, I'm glad that it's coming out. I'm glad that another generation of people is going to get a chance to play this. I did not spend a ton of time with the original Snake Eater. Um, I was like kind of burned out on stealth games, that sort of thing.
sure.
So I might give this another try. Um, I've heard nothing but great things about the original, and obviously, like if they do the remaster as well as they've been on some of the other recent remasters, this is going to be very good. So, really exciting stuff. We said at the beginning that we're not going to talk about DLC, but technically, this is just a game update. It's not DLC, so we're going to talk about the Sea of Thieves update here.
Yeah,
Um,
they're on season 13 of Sea of Thieves, and it's amazing to see that they're still pumping out content for Sea of Thieves. And
mhm.
like 13 seasons is a long time, so good for them. And
Yeah,
they're doing like a darker type of season this time around because I think of the number 13. So I think that's like it's a well play Sea of Thieves. I see what you're doing there.
nice, nice. Yeah, I think it is cool that they're letting people become the villains in this. Because pirates are already villains. They like
Right.
go around and steal boats and kill people and like that. Those are all bad things. And now they're like, you know what? Not villainous enough. You got to become more villainous. And so you get to like side with like the undead in this, I think. And this, I'll tell you right now, there's a scene where they show off a skeleton army and they go hard. Looks sweet.
Does
Looks
look
very
sweet.
cool. So, and like apparently you can drive like the undead ship and shit. If you like playing Sea of Thieves like you're a monster, you're going to love this content. And I'm talking to you, Gannon. So yeah, um, this looks cool. This looks like a cool update. Speaking of things that look cool, Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn is the next game that we're talking about, and this is kind of like a Souls-like game kind of thing.
Mm.
But the movement in it looked way less constricted than your typical Souls like. And also, the main character had guns. And when I think about Souls likes with guns, I think about Remnant. And if this is anything like Remnant, it's going to be awesome. Just finished playing Remnant 2 a couple months back. It was great. And so, if this is more of that, it's going to be really good. What was really surprising to me is how soon the release date is. This releases in like a month and a half. It comes out
That's pretty
July
quick.
18th. So we'll see how it is. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
I am excited for people who like Souls-like games. They are definitely not for me. I'm very on those, but if you like them, this might be a cool game for you.
Yeah. That that makes a lot of sense to me, and it does look like a cool game. I'm pretty jazzed about it. I am also excited about this next one because the next one is Age of Mythology Retold, and I loved Age of Mythology as a kid. I was
Yeah.
a Command and Conquer and Age of Mythology fan. I played a little bit of Age of Empires, but man, just like something about Age of Mythology, I really, really enjoyed it, and so I'm really glad that they're going back to that series.
Uh-huh.
It's been a long time since we've seen an Age of Mythology game,
Totally.
and yeah, and also like, am I wrong or RTS is having a little bit of a resurgence right now?
I don't know. I feel like maybe just a little bit. But I know that Microsoft has been putting out like a new version of like Age of Empires like almost every year. So I feel like this is kind of in line of like what they're doing. They're kind of just reloading or like remastering them all just
Mhm.
because like they want people to just play their games. Um, but I feel you on this one. Like, I really enjoyed Age of Mythology. I actually learned a lot about Greek mythology and like other cultures' mythologies by playing Age of Mythology because like you get to pick like your deity, right? And they
Mhm.
are like pretty much your champion of your town. So you build your civilization around that deity, and then you can just unleash that god upon like other cities. And I just thought that was so cool. I was like, I can like play with Zeus. This is amazing.
Yeah, and some
um,
of those powers look gorgeous in this trailer.
yeah, they did. Especially like, yeah, they were just like so cool looking. My only problem is that like I don't know if I would play this again. Like for where I'm currently at in life, like I don't know if I want to spend the time to play Age of Mythology. I don't know
That's
what
fair.
like what it is. I feel like there's so many other games that are out there that like I need to start playing and it's just this one's not high on my list. But for people who love RTSs, like this one's definitely a good one.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Makes a lot of sense. Um, Next up is Perfect Dark. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah. So when I was watching this, I was like, man, this looks really interesting because I love the design of the environments that you're in. They looked really, really pretty. Um, I thought that it's interesting that they are doing kind of like a like not really like a simulate a sim, but like more of like a first person um adventure game with Perfect Dark. And then it also has like this really interesting, like, mirror's edge movement to it where like you're sliding around and you're kicking things. And I was like, man, that looks really fun. Like, I can't wait to blow the knees out of enemies.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, this looks really interesting. It is it is not what I expected from a new Perfect Dark game. I'll tell you that much.
Sure.
Because this like it's bright and it's vibrant, uh,
Mm.
and there's like more than just you and the people you need to kill around. They kept showing Joanna going into like Batman mode, kind of, where it's like you can see the hostiles through walls and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It almost, and they showed her doing like some subterfuge stuff, like recording someone's voice to then use it to unlock a voice lock later on. And that sort of high tech feel has always been part of Perfect Dark, but the subterfuge part really hasn't that much. And it's kind of giving like some Hitman vibes to it. Your call of Mirror's Edge for the parkour stuff, I think, is dead on. Looks that like movement tech looks really interesting.
Mm.
Uh, I'm not 100% sure that I want parkour with guns, to be perfectly honest. Um,
Really?
I don't. I'm not sure. Right? We'll
Okay.
see. Because the trailer made me think that maybe I might. I don't know.
Fair.
Like it looks interesting. This is another one that I am cautiously optimistic on. They have obviously taken their time with this,
Mm.
and so my hope is that that is rewarded and we get an awesome game.
Yeah. I'm to be honest, when I was watching the trailer, I was like, man, this is kind of like cyberpunky in a way, right? Like it's kind of got
Mhm.
like the high tech guns and like the ability to like hack into people and see like where people are at. And I just thought that was like such a cool vibe. Like I really liked that in Cyberpunk, and I just like it's nice to see that other games are kind of going down that route.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. It's got it. It's doing a lot of different things. Uh, and so I get the excitement. My worry is it doing too many different things?
Yeah, I
You
could see
know.
that.
So yeah.
I hope it does it well.
Yes, exactly. If it does those things well, this is going to be a great game. Yeah, that's a
Oh,
that's a very good call out.
don't half-ass it, Perfect Dark.
Yeah,
Whole
per-
ass it.
perfect. Dark. Give it the whole ass. I think this is made by the Initiative, so the Initiative, give it the whole ass. Um, cool. Up next is Fable. What do you think about Fable?
People are going to be excited about a Fable game. I have not really played a lot of Fable games, but I know it's a very popular series, so I'm excited for all of you.
Yes, I'm one of them. I was excited about the last Fable trailer that they showed, where it was like Richard Ayoade as like a farming giant.
Oh, great.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, that was awesome. Um, I loved the first three Fables. So did my wife, Anne. She was a big fan of them. I am excited to see what they can do in the world. It looks like they're building a very, very cool world. That said, there wasn't much gameplay shown off
Right.
in this trailer. And that is worrisome to me because the last trailer did have a good chunk of gameplay to it. And so this one being so far along and having nothing, uh, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Also, the fact that it's just like 2025 at this point. Um,
Right.
I was really hoping for like a more concrete release date. So
I could see that. I'm also kind of interested too now because like I remember like the old Fable trailer. Like how does this trailer story ties in with the old trailer story? Like it's just because it's the same character?
I
I don't know.
mean, maybe. I'll be honest. I didn't go back and look at the old trailer before we recorded this. I just remember I thought it was really cool. I thought I enjoyed it. So we'll see. You know, hopefully the story is good because if the story
I
in a Fable game is not good,
there are
that's going to be a
problems.
rough experience for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next up is Frag Punk. Uh, this one looks weird, man.
I
I don't
agree.
I don't know who this is for. This is a competitive 5v5 shooter where there are like cards that you can consume to like put modifiers on the match. And the cards are like weird as hell. It's like one of them flips the whole world upside down. One of them gives your opponents huge heads, so it's easier to like headshot them. Um, it's just really weird. And so I actually looked into it just a touch more, just like a little bit more. And one of the things that they talked about is this game is going to have an incredibly low time to kill, and matches are going to last around 2.5 minutes.
What?
Uh huh. And I've never met a Valorant player who was like, man, I sure do wish these matches were only 2.5 minutes long. So, like, I don't know. I don't
So
know who this is
weird.
for.
I don't either. Because if they're trying to be like competitive 5v5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the other games in that arena space, you're thinking of like Valorant and Overwatch and I think the finals is actually 3v3. But still,
Yeah.
like you're part of that competitive space. Like, why would you want something to be so short And then on top of that, it almost feels like there's a lot of imbalance in the game because the cards are so random. Like the one where it's like, oh, you can get your team, like the other team to have big heads. Like that's a super, like it's super easy for the other team to get kills then, right? Like because the heads are so big, like those are instant headshots. So like, how is this going to be fair for people? I don't know. It just seems very, something about it feels very off.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is like a comeback mechanic, maybe, where it's like, oh, the worse you're doing, the better cards you get late game, like that sort of thing. Like, there's a bunch of different ways that they could do this. I'm not sure if I care about any of them.
Yeah.
So, speaking of games I don't care about, Winterborough. You're a mouse. It's a survival game. It looks adorable. I will not be playing it. But what is your thoughts on this?
Same. I it talks about making a cozy base, right? But like nothing about that trailer was cozy. It just felt like you were on edge the whole entire time as you were a mouse trying to survive in winter. Like it's not doing anything for me. It reminds me of a Peter Rabbit's 90s children's book. Like I don't like it. I don't
Yeah,
think I'm going to be playing it.
fair, fair. It's funny because I thought it was going to be like a cozy game. I thought it was going to be right up your alley, and then maybe they just missed the landing on the tone of the trailer or
I
something.
think so because it was very weird. And then they had like at the very end of that trailer is like, oh, like I found my friend. Here's a giant owl that's coming in to kill him. Like what? This sounds very sad. I don't want a sad game in my cozy game.
Yes, agreed. Next up is a game called Mixtape that looks to be like a little weird indie coming of age game. Part of the trailer was them announcing like songs that are in it, which I guess is cool. I'm not gonna lie, this looks like it's exactly my shit. I love a little indie story game. Uh, this seems like it is designed for me. What are your thoughts around it?
I didn't find it to be super compelling. And maybe because like I don't know, something about it. Maybe it's like the coming of age. Like I just feel like it's been a little bit overdone. But also like I wonder how people are going to stream this game because there's so many like big name bands like Devo, Smashing Pumpkins, Joy Division. Like somebody's gonna get DMCA'd.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think you'll be able to stream this game. It's the same problem that Guardians of the Galaxy had, where there was a streamer mode that took out all of the licensed music, and it cut the experience like
Yeah.
pretty badly. So yeah, this is not a game for streamers. You have to experience it yourself. Next up, we've got Life is Strange Double Exposure. I'm not going to lie, the Life is Strange games, they've just never grabbed me. It seems like it should be the sort of thing that I would love, and they just aren't. I'm not sure what it is about them.
Yeah, especially if like you love a good like story indie game.
Yeah.
Like I feel like this would be very much up your alley. There is always like some sort of like mystic element to some of these Life is Strange games, and this is definitely no different. But like I always expect an emotional roller coaster when playing these
Mhm.
games, and I feel like I have to be in the right mindset to be accepting of like this type of drama.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's weird because I love a Telltale game, but for some reason, these just none of them have grabbed me. And I think I've tried two or three of them, and they just don't get me.
Yeah.
What did get me though was the new trailer for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Yeah, I agree. It looked like it was just Raiders of the Lost Ark in video game form, and I was definitely for it. I really hope that they get a lot of really interesting like environmental puzzles because you are Indiana Jones, right? You're solving mysteries. Like
Yep.
I want to be him to solve the mystery, and I really hope that the storyline is good. Um, I can totally see this being a hit. I really, really do.
Yeah, I am very excited for this. It seems to perfectly capture the feel of Indiana Jones, like the story beats that they showed off,
Mm-hmm.
um the sort of like the small moments of humor. There's a part where the world gets unbalanced a little bit, and a guy gets hit by a crate, and Indiana Jones is in a fist fight with another person. They both see the crate coming. They both step away from one another. They both watch the guy in the crate get flown off the world, and then they go back to fighting. Like, those little bits made it feel like really accurate. So I am very excited for this game. I'm also stoked that it's day one on Game Pass.
Yes, I agree. That's
Yeah.
going to be so much fun. I do have to give it up to the voice acting in that game because it sounds just like Harrison Ford. I actually had to look it up because I was like, okay, who's actually doing the voice acting for this?
Yeah.
And it turns out it's going to be Troy Baker, who is, as we know, is like a phenomenal voice actor. So I think he's in the trailer. He sounds great. So I can't wait to see like his performance in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, very much. It sounded dead on. You are 100% correct. All right, next up is Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. This looks like a Sekiro-like. I don't know. It looks like it's going to be fine. I'm not excited about this.
It looks like it's going to be fine.
Yeah, it does. Like, there are a bunch of people who put out Souls likes. There's like
Mm-hmm.
The Surge, and it's like, I'm sure The Surge is someone's favorite game. It is not mine.
Yep.
And that's kind of my thoughts around this. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm right there with you. We all know how I feel about a Souls-like game. Souls-like games, like it's not for me. But it does look interesting in terms of like the monsters that you're fighting.
Mhm.
So I'd watch somebody play the game, but I would definitely not play the game.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Next up, we've got Avowed by Obsidian. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm a bit hesitant on this. It is in the same universe as like Pillars of Eternity, which is those are really fun games. And it gives a little bit of Skyrim vibes because it's a first person uh adventure game that you can
Mhm.
like do spell casting and you can like it looks like you can poke people with spears. So it looks cool. I think I'm just gonna wait for it to come out before I actually want to invest time into it.
Yeah, I've been following this for a little while. I'm actually really excited about it. I think it looks gorgeous. Like,
Mhm.
graphically, it looks gorgeous. My only concern is 2 or 3 times throughout this trailer, they showed some platforming stuff, and first person platforming is always janky. And so I'm a little worried about that aspect of it. But like, the spell effects look gorgeous, the
Does
enemy models look beautiful. Like, I think that this is going to be really good. Um, this is one that I am optimistic about. One that I am a little more cautious about is the next game, which is Atom Fall. Atom Fall kind of looks like, all right. So it's a survival game, and it's set after like a nuclear disaster, and it looks like they have built a really cool world, right? Like, there's some magic-y stuff and there's some tech stuff. And you see like an abandoned British phone booth in an overgrown field, and there's like mechs everywhere and that sort of thing. And I'm excited about this. Be but I'm also a little worried because this could very easily be like a BioShock kind of thing, or this
right,
could very easily be like an Atomic Heart kind of thing.
right.
And I don't think it's going to be in the middle. I think it's either going to be very good or very bad. Um, and I'm not sure which it's going to be based on this trailer.
I feel you on that. I'm very curious how one goes from like the more mystic into like the more like tech realistic type of worlds because they seem like two very different vibes. So like trying to intertwine that into a story could be interesting. I didn't see anything about like portals or jumping through time. It just kind of seemed like you were like the trailer like just jumped from one to the next and it felt very disjointed.
Yeah.
And so if the story somehow brings those um two environments together in a meaningful way, then yeah, it could be good. But it'd
Yeah.
be very difficult to pull off.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The tone of this is definitely all over the place. There was definitely a scene where it was like a mech walking around and you're like shooting, like the player character is shooting it.
Hmm.
And then in the next scene, there's like a crucified glowing blue elf. And it's like, I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah.
So
Bow
we'll,
and arrow that you're
yeah,
using, like you just used a gun like 2 seconds ago.
yeah, we'll see what's going on with it. Next up was Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm going to be honest with you. I cannot muster the energy to care about another Assassin's Creed game. What are your thoughts?
Same. Saw it. Dude crawling around the roof. I was like, this is Assassin's Creed game. I'm out.
Yep. Yep. Makes a ton of sense. It exists. Someone's going to love it. That person is not us.
Yep.
Um, yeah. Looks gorgeous, though. Trailer, graphically beautiful. Just can't care. All right. Next up, we had Gears of War E-Day. This was a weird trailer for me. What are your thoughts on this?
I haven't played a Gears of War game since like Gears of War 3, so I really don't know what's happening, and I don't know. I honestly forgot some of like the main characters in the game. So like as they're coming out the shadow and like showing like their character models, I was like, what is happening? What is should I be impressed? Should I be like, if I was a Gears of War fan, should I be screaming in joy right now? I just don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Um, I don't know. Like the trailer was 2 minutes long. They spent the first minute and a half of it showing a close quarters combat between one of the characters and one of the aliens.
Hmm.
Um, and obviously, we know Gears of War is not a close quarters combat game, right?
Yep.
So the cinematic trailer part of it didn't do anything for me. I've never been a huge fan of Gears of War. They did the slowed down, pitched down popular music thing with Mad World, the like slow cover of it. I can't remember who did the slow version of it. And so to me, like I am not excited about this. It's not for me.
Yeah.
It is for someone. That someone is Zando. His review of this trailer in the Discord was, I didn't think that this was what I needed, but this is exactly what I needed.
All right.
And so if you're a huge Gears of War fan like he is, you're probably pumped about this.
And I'm excited for you.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. All right. We made it through the gauntlet. We talked about every game that we cared to talk about. If we skipped a game that you are stoked on, I apologize. Tell us why you're stoked about it in the Discord. Hop in there; it'll be a good conversation. But now it is time for a sponsored question, and actually, interestingly enough, you can call us shills. I know it's crazy, but this question is actually sponsored by Microsoft. Microsoft themselves sponsored it, and Microsoft said. The only thing we love more than making great games is closing down studios.
Jeez.
So help us do that and tell us which of our major studios is the most desirable and which one has to go. And so they have asked us to play Fuck, Marry, Kill with Blizzard, Activision, Bethesda, and Xbox Game Studios. Way to spend those sponsorship dollar, Microsoft. I hope they don't sue us. What's your answer for this one?
Oh my gosh. So I think that I'm going to marry Blizzard for the money, because we all know that they have a buttload of money in their games, and without all the microtransactions, like I would like a part of that, so I don't have to be poor for the rest of my life. That'd be wonderful. I think that I would fucks with the Bethesda games, because I really don't want to be tied down to the same content over and over again. Like I just kind of want to like dabble in it, like
Okay.
Skyrim, or like, any of the new Elder Scroll games that are coming out, or like new Fallout games. Like I want to dabble in it, but I don't really want to be like, oh, Fallout, oh, like, oh, Elder Scrolls. Like I'm just so in love with you. Like, nah, like you're you're like a one night stand. I can deal with you for maybe like a good month or so, and then I want to move on to something else.
That's fair. I do think I read a review of Starfield that said this feels like playing just the tip. So I totally understand where you're
Yep.
coming from.
Yeah. And honestly, I played Starfield and I was like, yeah, just a tip. But and I was
Yep.
happy. I was very content with that gameplay. It's not a super great game, but I got my enjoyment out of it, right?
Yeah.
Um so definitely fucks with Bethesda games. And then I guess I have to, based on this logic, right? I would have to kill off Xbox. I might be okay with that. I mean, like Xbox doesn't have like a lot of IPs that I'm like solely invested in. They got some cool stuff every once in a while, but like I could live without it.
That's
So why
fair.
don't we kill it off?
That is totally fair. Um, yeah. I mean, I think you kill off a bunch of good games when you do that, but I think that's going to be true for pretty much any of these. So
Right.
it's a tough decision. That said, it was a really easy decision for me. I think Blizzard Activision has to die for a bunch of very obvious reasons. I could talk about Diablo Immortals monetization or whatever, but
Sure.
mostly I have chosen this as penance for getting my mother addicted to Candy Crush. And so,
No
Blizzard
way.
Activision, you have to die. That leaves the other two left. So I guess me and Bethesda are going to a very glitchy pound town.
Okay.
Um, like Bethesda, like here's the thing about Bethesda. They're fun. They're also like not gonna work well. And I don't want to be tied down to someone who's not gonna work well.
Same.
So Bethesda, I'll fuck you. Um, I would happily marry just Double Fine games, right? Just Double Fine games. And when you look at like the list of different game studios that are underneath Xbox Game Studios, like I'm not just going to get to marry Double Fine games. I'm also going to get to marry Rare. I'm going to get to marry the company that made all of the Age of Empires games. And I'm not going to lie to you. Seems like it would be a pretty stable relationship, right?
And yeah.
So I'm going to marry Microsoft Game Studios, Xbox Game Studios. And I'll be totally happy with that life as long as they don't try to like close our shed down every few months or whatever. Like the shed was working great. Why are you trying to close it?
Because we don't need it, Dale. We don't need it, and we need to save our money.
Yeah, that's going to be an argument every time. But outside of that one issue, I think that that's the company I'd like to hitch my long term success to. So, yeah,
Yeah.
insane question, Microsoft. Weird one to ask us. Thanks for the sponsorship, I suppose. Do you have anything else to say about the Xbox Game Showcase?
I don't think I do.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What was interesting, we talked about the last Fable trailer and we talked about the new Fable trailer. And one of the weird things about those Fable trailers is that they introduce the character at the beginning and
Mm-hmm.
they say like their name and also their title. And so this first one was or I'm sorry, not the first one. This new one was Humphrey, who is Albion's greatest hero asterisk retired, which is kind of funny. Um, but last year, the Fable game trailer with Richard Ayoade as the giant, uh, the the giant's name was actually Dave, and so I think Dave is like a good name. And Dan is a bad name. Man, I had to go a long way to get there, but fuck you, Dan.
Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah,
I
fuck Dan.
forgot. I thought it was Dan, and then I looked it up. Well, like I Michael Scotted that sentence. I like started talking, and I was like, "Oh shit! I don't think it's Dan. I think it's actually a different name." I had to look it up. It's Dave. But yeah,
Wow.
fuck
Well,
you, Dan.
fuck Dan for not his name not being Dave.
Yeah. Also, like, fuck me for fucking that up so bad. Sorry to everybody. If you listened all the way through that, thanks so much. My name is 20 Sided Ninja on the Discord and on Blue Sky. Mel, where can you be found?
You can find me on the Discord as Melephant. I'm there. Say
Man, this
hi.
episode really fell apart here. I apologize to everyone, especially our Patreons who give us support to make what such wonderful content like this completely free for everybody. Oh man, Jesus! All right, if you want to land base me for how bad that was, you can do so in the Discord. It's a real fun place. Outside of that, why don't you say goodbye to everybody?
Goodbye, everyone. Have a
Goodbye,
great day. Bye.
goodbye, y'all. Jesus.